I'm Dr. Vicky Stewart, and welcome to Dizzy Resolve, where we take an integrative, science-backed approach to healing chronic dizziness. So in this episode, I'm joined by Sonya, who lived with chronic persistent dizziness for years, navigating diagnoses like PPPD, persistent postural perceptual dizziness, and vestibular migraine. In this episode, I'm talking to Sonya about before she joined the shift, and Sonya was stuck in a cycle of fear, constantly avoiding environments that triggered her symptoms like heights, busy places like shopping centres, and travel. But today she's sharing her after story, a different story. And you'll hear how Sonya gently rebuilt her confidence, calmed her nervous system, and began living her life again, including walking along the Grand Canyon, something she never thought that she would be able to do. And what made the difference wasn't just time. It was learning how to shift her internal patterns and relate to her body in a new way. So if you're feeling stuck, anxious, unsure whether healing is really possible, I hope Sonya's story reminds you that you're not alone and that change is absolutely possible. And for free dizziness recovery tools and support systems, you can visit my website, dizzyresolve.com. We'll see you in there.
The whole outcomes, but to be able to jump on and let people know who are considering joining the shift for their own experience, like for them to hear from someone who's just been through it, is really valuable. So I appreciate you and appreciate your time. But I thought we'd start with, what were you struggling with before coming and joining the shift?
Well, of course, everyone has their own stories, and my story could be quite long, but I had dizziness that developed many, many years ago due to an illness, and then it dissipated and I was okay for a while, and then the immune system and everything kind of happened, and my dizziness came back twofold, and I couldn't seem to figure out why. I tried several things. I tried like cognitive behavior. I tried all these different types of tools or
Strategies.
Yeah, strategies to try to figure out why. And I'm a very want to know the cause, the source. If I know what's happening, I can take it in my brain and then make it at the basis of the cellular level, and it helps me understand it. So when I was at wit's end, to be honest with you. I was at wit's end. I said, there's got to be something better than this. And I got from doctor to doctor trying all this, and them saying to me, oh, there's fine. All these tests are fine. Yeah, we see this. We see what's happening, but we can't figure the source. So started doing a lot more research. About 2 years ago, I actually started doing a lot of research on neuroplasticity. I believed in it because of what my experience was. I just didn't know how to implement it. I needed some guidance. I needed someone to put it together for me, because I was trying bits and pieces of this and not having a flow. And so I came across your website, and I had seen a few other websites talk about neuroplasticity, but the format of what they described wasn't what I felt like. We were still piecemealing, and I wanted something to bring it together so I could take it in and understand it. And that's when I contacted you. So I said, has to do it.
And what was your like day-to-day like, or even week to week, or whatever you want to talk about as far as your life from a symptom, emotional, physical perspective?
I quit driving. Because I was scared, because I thought I'm not safe on the road, because I would have all this overstimulation. I feel that as don't know where I'm at in space. And it was very overwhelming for the brain and a lot of fatigue. So I quit the driving, and I was scared to be by myself, because what if something happened? What if it got so bad that I couldn't, help myself? And my personality is very, I'll do it on my own. And so this was a very, very hard for me to come to. Is my self-esteem, my self-worth was so low. And it was, I didn't want my husband to travel. I wanted someone. I always had to have a backup plan. Well, I'm going to go try doing this, but someone better be there for me in case. And it's still that way, but it's not that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I I didn't want to keep living my life like this. I said, there has to be something better. I mean, we're into retirement now, and I kept traveling. I kept pushing through, but I had all these body checks systems set up. I got to do this, this, and this. And it wasn't like it was, I don't want to say OCD or whatever, but just like I had to do that. It was just like, it was my backup plan because I wanted to be free. I felt like best words to describe it is I was surviving. I wasn't engaging in life.
Yeah.
That was a thing that, and I was an engager in life. I used to, we lived overseas. We do a lot of things, and I moved a lot growing up. So I was always the type of person to, I get out with the natives is what I call it, and engage myself. And I mean, my husband would, when I was doing well with the dizziness, I would be out there. He'd go, "Where'd you go?" I go, "Oh, I just started talking to somebody," and we sat down for until I could figure out, I knew there was something there, but I couldn't figure it out. And then I started, that's when I said the neuroplasticity. But anyway, so life was so depressing. And I wanted to engage in life again. So I'm working on it. And in such a better thought process of it. So.
And I know that we're still, like, you've only just completed the shift. So it's still somewhat in early days because it does take that integration time after to piece it all together. But what has changed for you, from doing the program, from a either intellectual, emotional, physical perspective?
Well, that's everything covered there, right there. Everything's changed. So my self-worth is much better. My self-esteem to know that I'm not, first of all, I'm not alone working with this group, that I feel like I'm not alone. And working, it was just to know that there's someone talking to me, speaking my language, and they are just people like me. So, what was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought. Shoot. Okay, so what came back? What has helped me with my self-esteem? I was able to, my husband took off for town for 4 days, and I was like, fine, go. I was okay with it. I was happy to be by myself. And that's how I used to be. I like my alone time. I like my engagement and social, but I'm the type that likes to sit back and relax and be left alone a lot. I wasn't doing that. I was afraid. I was so afraid. And so he's calling me he was out of town. He's calling me. He goes, "What you doing?" He's expecting me to be home, sit on the house couch, afraid to move. I go, "Oh, I'm out golfing. Oh, I went here. I went there." He goes, "Oh, okay, bye." Because he didn't want to, "You're out, you're going, you're fine." I mean, you're being a little bit like your old self. I said, "Yeah." I says, "Because of what I'm learning, I'm implementing the things that I've learned." I says, "I'm still like in the process." And it was just like to see him see me in the way I truly am, or coming to be that way, was great. But I also tell him, they want you to be that right then and there, back come full force. And I'm like, it's a process. It's work. You gotta do it. But I kept telling him, I think I found what I was looking for, to bring it together, to bring the structure together, to figure it all out. And so that to me makes me feel like, oh, there's a future. There's a future.
And that gives me goosebumps because it's often the closest people around us that actually notice changes even before we really see them in its full capacity.
Agree.
They're noticing it. They're like, "Oh gosh, this is happening." So it's fabulous.
Yeah. And my mom, even like, she's going out of town and my husband's going out of town again. And I'm like, go for it. I don't have that backup plan, or that crutch. I hate the crutch.
Yeah.
Is not there as strong, or there as planned, or there as obvious. I don't have to think about it, and I'm not worrying about it.
And I know that during the program, during our calls together, you talked about little wins that you'd had and shifts that you had. Are you able to share any that you remember?
Well, we went on a trip because, like I said, I pushed through, and I was a little worried about it. And we went to the Grand Canyon, and
Right.
flying a lot will cause, all the movement and change and all that. And well, the Grand Canyon might as well set you right off with the depth perception. And I'd been there before, and I struggled with it. And this time I was there, and no, I wasn't wanting to go to the edge and hang off, but it was like, oh, wow. My environment's calm. Yeah, you see it, but it was like, that dizziness that was always high, like it was so much calmer. And I was using the tools I learned, and it was just, I was such like a little kid, like, oh my God, it can't happen. It can't happen. I was driving a bit locally, without having to use, now the driving thing I'm still working on a lot,
Yeah.
but just to do the back roads and not have to think about body checking, everything like this, or that part of my brain was like, it's not there that much. It's, yeah, because it just wasn't in the forefront of everything I was doing, every breath I take as I was in the car. So to me, that was huge. That was
And did
that.
you say that you'd stopped driving
Yeah, I stopped
for how
driving
long?
about 2, 3 years ago. I stopped driving where I would go, like our grocery store is like probably a 2, 3 miles, which is what, 1.5 kilometers for you, like down the road. And I would do the back roads. Everything was back roads. It was never, I still haven't gone on the busy roads, but I will drive with someone in the car with me on the busy roads now.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't even kind of like getting away from that, where I will do that now because I still, it's like you said, I'm working on it, but
Yeah.
I could see a difference in it. I could see it coming. So I'm continuing with it.
That's fabulous.
So
And it's
it's just,
called the shift for a reason. These are the
yeah,
shifts that we're moving towards where you want to finally end up, but you're
yeah,
well on the way there. So
yeah.
you shared some of your wins. How are things, different now, and how do you feel about your future now compared to as if you hadn't have had gone through this process of the shift?
Well, because of my background, as you know, I knew there was help in a different way. I knew there was a way, I just didn't know how or what. And I knew there would be somebody out there to figure this out. So I feel like I validated myself um, with because of my background. Because when you sit there and you can help someone else get well, but you can't help yourself,
Mhm.
it really, it tears you apart. And you're like, there's just an imbalance that you're like, this just can't be right. How can I think and do all this for them and see their progress, but I can't get it in for me? Well, their
Mm.
situation's different like that, but that was for years of doing that. So to me, I'm thinking, oh wow, finally, I see it. I'm helping myself out, and it's it can happen. That's how it's like a lifeline to know that,
Yeah, I
especially
love that.
especially as you know my background. So I'm like, it's tough. But
A lot.
it's just so, it's like a kid getting a brand new toy that they're gonna love forever. I don't know how to explain it.
I love that. And so what are you excited about now in your near future that you weren't even like thinking about before, even
Being
in the
able to
way that
drive
you
again.
show up? Or pardon?
Yeah, being able to drive and being able to be like going into, like I had issues of going into busy places because it would just, ooh, talk about overstimulation and it'd get it going. I have some tools that when I'm in there, I can use those tools. And I was able to, and I find that when I've gone to the grocery store, when I've gone to into the store, and I've gone into this golf club where I golf sometimes, and the chaos was going on, I was using some of those tools. So I know it works. Now, the driving is a huge leap for me. So that I know that's going to be a little bit slower process, but I know I have the ability to keep the progress going. And I know it's not a linear healing. I know it's going to be this, like this. I mean, like a down. So don't like it, but you wish
Yeah.
you could just say, okay, this is great. I'm learning this. Let's do it all. But your brain needs to adapt. Your brain needs to
Yeah.
learn. So
Yeah. Oh, you're
it's
doing
awesome.
great. And if
Thanks.
you wanted to say something about whether you'd recommend the shift to someone who's, watching this video and thinking, oh, but I've tried all these other things and people have, why would it work for me? What would you say to them about whether you recommend the shift?
I would say definitely, definitely do this. It teaches you so much about yourself and about how you can help yourself without, and bringing back your self-esteem, your self-worth without being judged.
Yeah.
Uh, you can talk to, in the program, listen and talk and put things out there, and no one is
Yeah.
telling you, you need to do this, you need